Geek Talk. Let's enjoy the show. Talaman always got a plan. Geek Talk is popping where it's really at. Represents geek culture. Homie got structure. Sometimes it's vulgar. Screw catch culture. Feel like Goofy, smart to say the least. Loving One Piece, man, really loves to eat. Everybody knows the show is really is Talaman. You know what time it is. Let's go. Geek Talk.
Pirates are evil, the Navy is just. But that's only true because history tells us so. Children who've never known peace have different values than children who've never known war. The one who wins will rewrite the definition of right and wrong. They'll decide the future and how the past is written. Will justice prevail? Why, there's no other way! The winner will define the meaning of justice.
Hello and welcome. We got another great episode of Geek Talk with Tyler, another recurring guest, and another member of the Undateable X-Men family. How you doing today, Bradley?
I'm doing fantastic, Tyler. How about yourself? Feels like I just talked to you yesterday.
That does sound pretty familiar. What were we talking about?
What were we talking? I think we were talking a little bit about the X-Men 97 that is 6 days away now.
As of this recording, yes. As of this airing, it'll be 3. With that said and done.
And Rose's unplump ass.
Yes, and Jean's ever-growing belly.
Yeah.
Is it Scott's child? Is it Wolverine's child? Or is it a Brute's child? You decide.
Or maybe D. All of the above. Because wouldn't that be something?
So it's part Cyclops, part Wolverine, part Brute, part Jean Grey.
Yeah. I'm down for this. This is how we get new characters.
So it's kind of like an amalgam. So it's kind of
100%.
like the Super Skrull of mutants.
Yes, yes. Because she's so powerful. Jean is so powerful that she can take the DNA of several different, intertwine it, and then bake it in the belly.
All right. Before we go any further with our topic today, would you like to talk a bit about yourself, where people can find you, and all that other fun stuff?
I sure would. So I am the self-proclaimed Emperor of Awesome, Bradley Butin. I have a little podcast called The Fandemic, where I talk about all the things that I love and with people that I like in hopes of spreading my fandom to you. I talk about comics, TV shows, movies, weird things, things under the bed, anything that I can have a good conversation with, I do. And plus, I've written a couple of kids' books as well out there. I got another kids' book that should be coming out, I'm hoping, by the end of next month. So that is me.
Terrific. Now, it's said that we do not define a person by their words, but rather their action. However, regardless of what fandom you follow, whether it be Marvel, DC, and yes, it's DC, not DC Comics, because saying DC Comics is redundant. It's like going to a restaurant and saying, hey, can I get a cheeseburger with cheese?
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, Star Trek, anime, any of the various indie comics, etc., etc. They all have their iconic characters, and they all have their quotes, many of which we use to this day. Now, while it's true, we justify that actions speak louder than words, why do you think the words are more memorable than the actions?
That's a great question. I think for me, it's because the words that are being written for these characters, they're being set up, right? So they're trying to be that epic. And I'm going to give you a perfect example, which is actually one of my favorite quotes. And I'm going to let me know if you know who said this, okay?
All right, fire away.
There will always be somebody smarter. There will always be somebody stronger. But there will never be anybody more prepared.
That sounds like a Batman quote.
That is a Batman quote, and I love that quote. I mean, that is one of my favorite. I dig a lot of Batman quotes. He's not my favorite character, but he says a lot of good things because he's been built up to be this father, brother, leader, best of everybody, which really is against the actual character of the Batman. But like he is this walking thing, like he has what everybody needs to get to the next level.
Well said. I think many of the quotes. You know what's funny? DC and Marvel will always have a pissing contest, no matter how you look at it, because they're the only two brands of comics that are not considered indie comics. Whether it's Transformers comics, Gargoyles comics, hashtag keep binging Gargoyles, Turtles, even comics from Dark Horse, they're all indie comics.
Yeah.
But, I mean, excluding manga, of course, because that's a horse of a different color right there.
Yeah, it is.
But
I mean,
by American
you know what?
standards,
With that, it should be like a "You shall not pass." Like I did there.
another great quote. But it feels like when it comes to comics, most of the quotes do come from DC rather than Marvel. Like the only one we have from Marvel is "With great power comes great responsibility."
That's a big one, though. I mean, that's quite the big one. I think that is probably one of the most identifiable quotes that came out, and it didn't even come out of Spider-Man's mouth. It came out of Uncle Ben.
No, but it came out of the Spider-Man franchise.
Correct. Yeah. So, have you seen Madam Web?
I've heard a lot of bad reviews.
Yeah, it's horrible.
I feel like it's something you would want to get stoned to, but when I do edibles, I've usually watched animated films. Incidentally, Transformers the movie is a game changer.
I bet. So I'm gonna spoil the hell out of Madam Web for you because the only good part about that movie. So the best part about Madam Web was that the Madam Web's partner, paramedic partner, was Ben Parker.
Huh.
And yeah, and his sister was getting ready to give birth to Peter. So his sister-in-law. So I mean, like, that was very, very interesting, and I wish they could have played up that some more. But there are so many things, so many issues with Madam Web. I don't even want to get into it, but they did introduce that Ben Parker, which is an area that you didn't never really got into, and it didn't work out very well because it was still horrible. But I saw what they were trying to do.
Well, first off, not to get all sexist, but ever since the Infinity Staff, but feels like a lot of the movies Marvel's trying to introduce is more female-based.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really kind of gone downhill. Madam Web, Marvel's, Black Widow was kind of okay. They ruined Taskmaster, but other than that, not bad.
So, I mean, unpopular opinion, I actually didn't mind the Marvels, but I'm actually a really big Miss Marvel fan, and I like her more than I liked the other two Marvels. But I hated what they did to Nick Fury in that because they made him a freaking babysitter. It's like, what the hell,
Isn't
man?
he basically a glorified babysitter anyway?
Yeah, but they made him a chump. It was just, I don't know.
Yeah, but it's funny. We have classic characters that get revamped for one reason or another. I think the Joker is the best example of this.
Yeah.
No
100%.
Joker gets more quoted than the Nolan trilogy Joker.
Oh, yeah. I agree. And I think the Joker can do or say anything. And that's either a good thing or a bad thing, So, I mean, like, the Joker, you don't have a back. Well, I mean, they've given him an origin, which is so stupid. if you've ever read the Three Jokers, don't. It's just a waste of time. It's not that great of a story. But man, like the Joker is just pure chaos. So you can do whatever you want with him.
I feel like some incarnations he really isn't, because he explained why he does just for the sake of doing it. Like there was a scene where he gets all this money and he burns it and he says why he does it. It's like, then you're not an agent of chaos, because people that explain, like, okay, you've seen Superman the Animated Series, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay. You remember the episode where they got Gilbert Gottfried to play Mr. Mxyzptlk?
Yes, I really do. Oh my gosh,
yeah,
I'm
so
pretty...
he is an agent of chaos. He was just fucking with Superman just for the sheer sake of fucking with Superman.
Yeah. Which, I mean, why wouldn't you not want to fuck with Superman?
Because you can, and you therefore will.
Well, it's also the only way you can beat him. You can't beat Superman physically.
Well,
the only way that
Darkseid.
anybody can beat him, well, yeah, the only way that you
Or
can beat
Doomsday.
Superman is emotionally.
Or Bizarro.
I love Bizarro. I wish that they would do Bizarro
gets
should be
quoted a
part.
lot.
Yeah, and I feel like Bizarro should not be a villain anymore. I do not like.
I feel like
love.
he's more of an anti-villain.
Agree.
Villain.
Yeah, 100% agree. It's kind of like the ability to speak does not make you intelligent.
Yeah, there's several politicians that can, well, we can actually say are that can speak, but they're not intelligent. Just look at
Yeah.
Biden.
So you got that right. Yeah, absolutely. And that was a Qui-Gon Jinn quote, by the way.
Exactly. Which also kind of brings into the whole tying of voice acting. I've actually learned this from Eric Bauza. If you're familiar with some of his work, he does modern Looney Tunes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's done Daffy Duck. He's also done Bugs Bunny. A couple of classic characters, etc., etc. He says the true act of being a good voiceover for classic characters is by taking their voice and saying anything. Because if you're just saying their old lines, then you're basically a parrot.
It's true.
If you're, like, say, like, I can do the voice for Gollum really well. So I'm going to take this box of cookies, and what I'm going to read is Gold Emblem, chocolate chunk, and peanut butter cookies. Gold Emblem, chocolate chunk, and peanut butter cookies are made with creamy peanut butter in a traditional peanut butter recipe and are loaded with chocolate chunks and peanut butter flavored chips.
Very nice.
That's nothing Gollum would normally say.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's the real difference between voice acting and just being a glorified parrot.
There's a lot of truth there, absolutely.
Which, incidentally, I learned that from the Bloom Vox classes I've been taking. So if you are interested in voice acting, definitely, I do recommend that class. Steve Bloom definitely knows his stuff.
I'll definitely be checking that out one of these days when I have a little bit of time.
Word of advice, check out the archived classes. Because because it is nice to see the live classes with the celebrities and everything. It just, well, for starters, it happens too late, or at least for me. And if your whole purpose there is to meet a celebrity, there's a good chance you might not even get picked. But if you want to learn something, then I highly recommend it.
I'm one of those people. I don't care who I meet. I'm not trying to meet any celebrity. I would rather meet the comic book creators than I would the big celebrities. I'm not going to pay $100 to meet anybody. I'm sorry, I can't.
But aren't what you call it, people like, say, Jim Lee and Stan Lee big names within their own right?
Well, yeah, and I think I would spend the money to meet them more than I would, like, Hollywood people.
If it weren't for them, they also created several quotes.
Oh yeah. I mean, Jim Lee. I mean, man, he's done everything from. I mean, he's more of a DC guy, so I mean, like he did a lot of Batman, he did a lot of Superman, he did a lot of Superman actually. Dan Jurgens is another one. I mean, like without Dan Jurgens, you don't get Death and Return of Superman, which is probably the best Superman that's ever been made.
Exactly. Or if we're going to look at Transformers, Peter Cullen is the best Optimus Prime.
Oh,
I mean, there have been
100%.
a couple of others, very few and far in between, but he is without doubt the best. And he.
So what you?
Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, so what you're saying is your eyes can deceive you. Don't trust them.
Was that an Optimus Prime quote?
Nope, that's an Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Huh. Now he did have some quotes, some of which were from some good ones were from the god awful Babe Borshins.
Mm-hmm.
Like, fate rarely chooses us at a moment. Wait, fate calls us rarely at a moment of our choosing. Which, okay, yeah, that's a good quote, but the movie itself is shit.
It's kind of like many of the truths that we cling to depend on our viewpoint.
Or, to paraphrase Optimus Prime, Michael Bay must be stopped, no matter the cost.
I dig that. I really dig that.
Yeah, that was a classic nod to the Transformers the movie one. Again, the good one, the 80s one.
Yeah, yeah.
But even anime characters have had their own lines of classic lines. The one we just played was from One Piece during the Paramount War. That was Doflamingo's speech about what justice really is.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go back to Batman for a second because like one of my favorite panels, comic book panels, it's just a 100% white background with Batman, and it's either Dick Grayson or Tim Drake. I can't remember, but
So basically a Robin, though.
yeah, Robin, and Robin is saying, one day I'm gonna lead, or one day I'm gonna be in the Justice League, and Batman says no. One day you're going to lead it. And I mean, to me, that is 100% Batman, more than the being prepared or everything, but it goes back to Batman. That's the things that he says that's going to give you what you need at that time.
As long as we're going to adaptations, you know, it was another great Joker adaptation, Under the Red Hood. With
Oh,
John
yeah.
DiMaggio.
Yeah.
That was very quotable.
Yeah. Oh, Tyler. Yeah. I love me some Joker. Man, another big quote. Straight up. You know what? I'm actually going to go to some Marvel. Actually. Captain America. I'm loyal to nothing except the dream.
Huh. I almost thought he was going to say the almighty dollar.
I he might be that too. Might be that too.
You could see that. I mean,
Yeah, it just sounds like a good. Sounds like a good. Here, you know what? I'm gonna try saying that again, but only as a Captain America. I'm loyal to nothing except the dream.
and the almighty dollar.
Then there's Nightcrawler. Well, here's a good one from Nightcrawler. You ready? You have the instincts of a hero, my friend, but above all, the soul of a good man.
Ooh, you almost had it, but it didn't come with a German accent.
I can't do German, but yeah, that's fine.
Still quotable, which still blows my mind that Mystique is apparently his dad?
Yeah, and Mom. But I guess if you're Mystique, you can.
Well, I mean,
I don't know.
Look, I still don't entirely understand the whole trans non-binary thing. Not that I'm going to poke fun at it. It just doesn't make sense to me. But it does make sense that a shapeshifter would be non-binary, though.
It does, yeah. I mean, go back to X-Men '97. I mean, Morph. I mean, I don't care.
I honestly don't either.
Yeah, it is what it is, man. Give me a good story, and you got me.
I think that's all fans really care about nowadays.
Exactly.
I mean, Disney doesn't. They just care about money. Which again, this is how the South Park Into the Panderverse was created.
Yeah.
And even that quote, it still reigns with me today. Put a chick in it, make her lame and gay.
Yep.
Honestly, I just love how they get away with as much shit as they do.
I agree. I agree. And you know what? It's like the Flash says, life doesn't give us purpose, we give life purpose.
I bet he also said, want to see how many burritos I can eat in a single setting?
Yeah.
I bet he said that somewhere.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure too. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. You think the Flash would be smarter? I mean, now hear me out. He has the ability to think fast, so wouldn't that automatically mean he's smarter? If you have to,
You would think so.
yeah,
Yeah.
if you have the ability to react fast and think really quickly, to what you call it, to react to going in several machs that he's going, you think he'd be up there with, say, Mr. Terrific or Batman.
That's a good point. Hmm.
Yeah, it's definitely a query, right?
Yes, absolutely. It's like your focus determines your reality, which is another one of my favorite Jedi's, Qui-Gon Jinn from Star Wars.
Wait, is that
Um,
the prequels?
yes. Yep.
That's still better than the Disney stuff.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, episode 3 is one of my favorite Star Wars, man. I mean, they all you episode 5, Empire Strikes Back, is a perfect movie. And then after that, there's flaws in every one of the movies,
Well, isn't there a flaw in every movie? I mean, if you follow Cinema Sins, they'll find flaws in something.
Yeah, I do not follow them, but
Like
I
even if
I have heard.
I mean, I think they find flaws in The Godfather, which many people consider to be the best film ever.
Yeah, but there again, I guess it you have to look at these things through a lens of the day too. I mean,
I mean, even films that are iconic as, say, The Wizard of Oz. Like,
Mhm.
how could have Dorothy's problems all been solved? Simple. Keep the damn dog on a leash.
Right? Yeah, it's kind of like Cinderella. If this glass slipper was made for her perfectly, why did it come off? And why didn't it turn into whatever it was turned into after midnight? Like, wait a second, all the other stuff turned back to the things it was. Why didn't the glass slipper?
Or why couldn't they have just flown the damn eagles to Mordor?
That one I will never get over. It's just like, why? It makes me so mad. It's like, why do you drive in the parkway and park in the driveway?
Well, I think the latter could have been like an allegory for it's like if you rely on something too often, then you don't really appreciate for what it's worth.
That's true. That's true.
Like, I temporarily had my license suspended because I had a seizure because the neurologist I was visiting is a fucking quack. I never
Yeah.
realized how much I appreciated having a car.
I bet. I have to drive an hour and a half to pick up my kid every other week. So I barely drink. Ever since then, I barely even drink. I've never drank or drive ever after that.
I'm actually going to pass on St. Patty's Day this year. It's like, do people know why they're celebrating St. Patty's Day?
No. It's just a drinking holiday anymore.
That's all it really is.
It's like almost like 4th of July is almost that way as well, except you get fireworks.
Yeah, and probably one less finger.
Yeah, what I usually do for all those holidays is I just use it for family time, man. Board games, stuff like that.
Well, I'm going to be writing one of the songs for the X-Men series.
Very fun.
Yeah. It's going to be the shout out to my man, Mr. C. We're going to be writing a rap duo during the Genosha Spring Break concert.
That sounds like fun.
Which, other thing about it, Magneto doesn't have a lot of memorable quotes, does he? The best ones either come from Xavier or one of his students.
Yeah, I think you're going to get the best quotes out of Nightcrawler because he's really philosophical, but
Not in our adaptation.
and Magneto I get, you know what, I take that back. I mean, in the movies, I mean, he was, uplifting. So I mean, I'm sure that there's some there
Did you
that
see who they got to play him? Of course he's going to be uplifting.
right. Well, that's true.
You know, it was the same Gandalf guy. What was his name? Ian McLean or Ian McKellen?
Ian McKellen, yep.
Yeah. I mean, seriously. I don't think he's ever had a bad role per se. And if he has, it's not memorable.
I agree.
And it's funny that many of the best quotes do come from certain actors. Like the classic Star Trek Wrath of Khan episode or movie. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, or in this case, the one.
Or there's always the snap.
Exactly. Which, funny enough, South Park actually did use. It's like, remember, Jesus, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few.
Yeah.
Who said that? You did. Dude, Jesus didn't say that. Spock did. What? Yeah, Wrath of Khan. Oh.
But he said it through me.
Yeah, it was in the Jesus versus Satan episode. Or it was Damien, that was it.
Nice.
That was a good episode. Where it was a Jesus versus Satan. It was a boxing match. And everybody bets on Satan because he's the big, beefier guy. Jesus lands a punch, and then Satan takes a dive. Because everybody else bets on Satan to win. And Satan was the only person that bets on Jesus.
That's fair.
Yeah, it was a good episode. And, funny enough, the creators of South Park actually did not like the first 3 seasons.
Really? That's I mean, they did change in the 4th, 5th season. I mean, they did start to kind of not care.
Yeah,
but I guess
a lot
by
of the
then
best
they could do
quotes
whatever
from
they
South
wanted.
Park come in the first season. Screw
Yeah.
you guys, I'm going home. Oh my god, they killed Kenny, you bastards. I need about Tree Fitty.
Yeah. Once you start down the dark path, forever will it dominate your destiny.
Exactly. Case in point. But I think... Let me ask you something. When it comes to writing quotes, or even creating quotes,
Mm-hmm.
do you think they come from life experiences, or do we just have to get inspired?
I think you have to be inspired because in order to write it down, you got to think about it. So in the moment, because I know the best thing that I wrote a couple things. My kid's book that I wrote, it's all about, it's called Leveling Up My Awesome, right? And I wrote it in 20 minutes because I had driven by the school where my kid was, and she was just hanging out by the fence. Wasn't mad, just not, whatever. And I just remember going home and writing that book. And it took me like really no time at all, besides a little bit of tweaks. And then I talking to my kid, and she was like, yeah, that was fine. I just wanted to be by myself. And I was like, man, didn't you want to play with anybody or anything like that? But, she's like, I'm just leveling up my awesome. And that's how I got the name of the book and everything. But you got to have something to inspire you before you can put it down on paper.
So you would say it's 50% inspiration, 50% life experience.
I think that's fair. Yeah.
I mean, let's face it, the only way you can get expired is if you go out in the world.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going
And
to lie.
yeah.
I did get some of my inspirations when I was either drunk or high.
Oh, yeah.
Like making some noises for characters and whatnot.
Hmm.
Like they're like just make it sound like a random background character.
Uh-huh.
Like, let me ask you something. Are you familiar with the series Attack on Titan?
Yes.
Did you know that the Titans from Attack on Titan were based off people the creator met at a cafe shop?
Oh, really? I did not know that. That's freaking cool.
Yeah. And I can even take that a step further. Ichiro Oda confirmed that he took a lot of his inspiration from Dragon Ball and, get this, Nightmare Before Christmas with the character designs.
That's cool.
Because you can see they don't look like humans. They're all over the place. Like, you got some humans that are over 20 feet tall
Yeah.
and some that are average height. But that's the great thing about fiction. Half the time it needs explanation, half the time it doesn't.
And sometimes you just have to transform and roll out.
Da 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 da.
Yeah, or you know what? Sometimes one shall stand, one shall fall.
Why must you throw your life so recklessly?
I will fight anyone who stands in my way.
See, all the best Transformer quotes either come from the Generation 1 cartoon, the Generation 1 movie, or Beast Wars.
Yeah, yeah.
Or, in the rare instances, Transformers Prime, the Emmy Award-winning series.
Are you excited to see Chris Hemsworth take on the role of Optimus Prime?
I'm going to be honest. Once you see him as Thor, it's hard to see him as anything else. And I think that's the problem most actors do have. Like, how long ago was the original Star Trek?
1962, I think.
Okay, can you picture George Takei outside of Star Trek?
No, then that's why he hasn't been able to do anything unless he's parodying his oh my, you know?
Exactly, case in point.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, yeah, they're trying to get Chris Pratt and stuff, but
Chris Pratt is just one of those like, oh yeah, we need a young Harrison Ford, or we need Mario, we need Garfield.
Coming out. It's like, is he a good Garfield?
I don't know.
I feel like they should have got a more relaxed voice.
Yeah.
Like, all right, we had the original one. We had Lorenzo Music for a while, for 20 years. We had Frank Welker. We had Bill Murray.
Yeah.
They all sound a little more chilled and relaxed. That matches Garfield's energy, or rather, lack thereof.
Yeah.
But then we get Chris Pratt, who's a little more upbeat. Whether
Yeah,
it's
it'll be
his
interesting to
Parks
see.
and Rec character, the MCU character, or even his character from Onward, they're a little more upbeat. Garfield doesn't really match that. I mean, sure, he was able to pull off Mario to a degree,
Yeah.
but Garfield, I'm not buying it.
I know. I'm gonna
Like,
watch
I feel
it,
like,
but
and I'm probably gonna get roasted on this. Seth Rogen would have been a better Garfield.
I could see that. I could definitely see that.
He's got not a stoner-esque kind of thing, but his lack of energy matches Garfield more.
I agree. I 100% agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, definitely not Jack Black, but he's fat, but he's all.
But he's got too much energy.
He's like Chris Farley.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, rest in power. Or here's a question: if Robin Williams was alive, do you think he could have pulled off Garfield?
Yes. Absolutely. I think Robin Williams would have been an interesting Garfield.
He was able to pull off several characters in the Aladdin.
Yeah,
He
well,
was
and,
able to pull off the very creepy Peter Lorre inspiration, if you haven't noticed.
well, and he was also able to turn off the crazy.
It is a 0 to 60 ability that very few people are able to possess.
Yeah.
And speaking of which, Gilbert Gottfried, do yourself a favor, everybody. Google up his actual voice. Because
Yeah.
it just really, like, holy crap. That's what he sounds like? Because once you hear it, you're probably not going to see Aladdin the same way again.
Man, he was a very, very underrated actor.
And he was. It does remind me of a joke he told at Joan Rivers' quotes. Again, relating back to the quotes. A man walks up to a bar and Joan Rivers is the bartender. He sees a sign. $1.50 for a cheese sandwich and $10 for a hand job. He asks the waitress, "Hey, are you the one that gives out the hand jobs?" Joan Rivers says, "Yes, I am." And then the man says, "Well, wash your hands, bitch. I want a cheese sandwich." Good night.
I am vengeance. I am the night. I am Batman.
Yeah, that one. I think that one. And this actually comes from The Big Bang. I love how Adam West says. Here's the problem I have with these new Batman. I never had to announce who I was. People
Yeah.
already knew who I was.
I know. And the fact that he could just hit you so hard that the sound describing the hit would just pop up.
Yeah, and all the ridiculous shit he has in his bat, like a bat.
I love
shark
Adam
spray,
West
was
Batman.
it?
Yeah, shark spray. you never know, Robin. Here's another good quote for you. Let me see if you know who says this. All right.
Fire away.
What's legal isn't always right, and what's right isn't always legal.
All right, that sounds like I feel like that's a Superman quote.
Nope. Punisher.
Okay.
Punisher.
I was
Yeah.
really off.
That's okay. That's all right.
But it was in the comic realm.
Yeah,
Of
you
course,
were.
knowing you, that really doesn't help, does it?
Yeah, I know, right?
Here's a fun one for you. When the cops aren't around, everything's legal.
Yeah.
That was from
Oh.
Uncle Stan from Gravity Falls.
I have not watched Gravity Falls.
I'm going to be honest, as bad as Disney movies have gotten, is as good as some of their Disney shows have gone. Like Gravity Falls and Owl House.
Mm-hmm. How about this? You have failed the city.
That sounds like a Batman one.
No, that's Arrow.
Starscream, you have failed me for the last time.
Yeah.
It feels like he says that every episode.
He probably does.
Yeah, until his death in the movie when he tossed him out of the airlock. Yeah, which again, another hole in the. We were talking about plot holes. Here's a hole for the Transformers the movie, right? Okay, so Optimus Prime fatally wounds Megatron, and Soundwave is willing to carry him to Astro Train. That makes sense. But there's a scene where Astro Train tells them to lose some weight or jettison some weight, or we're not going to make it to Cybertron. So one of the Decepticons say it's a survival of the fittest thing. So they get rid of all the wounded Decepticons, 2 of the Seekers and the 3 Insecticons. And then Starscream, being Starscream, decides to throw Megatron overboard. My question is, why wouldn't Soundwave try to stop him?
Because it was written that way.
Fair enough.
Yeah. It was. I know, man. That is definitely a good plot hole, though.
Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, he was like one of Megatron's most loyal, compatriots. I mean, if you look at the Decepticon logo, it looks exactly like Soundwave's head.
Yeah.
That's weird, right?
I'm actually going to look that up right now. Soundwave. Holy cow, you're right.
Yeah, but to be fair, the
What?
Predacon logo is a wasp, just like Waspinator. So
Yeah.
take that with a grain of salt.
Wow. That's clever, clever. I never put that together before, but wow, 100%. Cool.
Yeah. I feel like some of the best quotes come from songs.
Yes. Yeah.
And as a up and coming songwriter that I'm working with my good buddy Mr. C, the melody is easy, the lyrics are hard. If I'm gonna be honest.
I used to do a lot of songwriting back a long time ago when I thought I could play guitar, but I really couldn't.
Electric or
Electric, yeah, electric. I could play a little bit, and I could play a little bit of acoustic. I wrote a few songs, but all the songs I wrote were more poetry, poems than songs. Really, it's because I can't sing. I'm a horrible singer.
well,
It's
that
like,
does remind me of an old joke.
go for it.
How is candy a lot like modern music?
How?
It's better once you get rid of the rappers.
I like it.
And for the record, I
like
said modern music. I got nothing against the 90s stuff.
I'm
when
with you there too, man.
That's when
I
rap was at its peak.
I agree. I still jam to OPP and all Onyx and all the good stuff. Heck, I also jam to MC Hammer.
Ice Ice Baby Baby.
Yep, some Vanilla Ice.
Yeah, those are like way back in the day stuff.
Oh yeah.
And it's funny, a lot of the shows we have, well, we're of two different time eras, but we could still bond over the same shows. A lot of the quotes that they had wouldn't have flown by today's children's show standards.
I mean, you can't touch this, man.
Well, yeah, it's like there was a Justice League episode where Flash brags about being the fastest man alive.
Mm-hmm.
Then Hawkgirl says, that's probably why you can't get a date.
Yeah.
Or another one where Amanda Waller was saying, Batman's DNA was easy to find. He left it all over town. Awkward pause. Not even remotely what I meant.
I like it.
It's like the stuff DC was allowed to get away with back in the day. Do you know that I'm thinking about it? You would be a great series. They should just do an amalgam series, like all those characters, like Amazon and Dark Claw.
Mm-hmm.
Like that would be. The real question is, who would own it?
I don't know, man. That'd be crazy.
I mean, yeah, you'd be for that though, right?
Oh, I absolutely for. I actually have a couple of pitches for to bring it all together.
Ooh, do I sense a collaboration?
Yeah. So here's my pitch. Here's my pitch. Right.
I'm listening.
It all revolves around Deadpool because Deadpool can break the fourth wall. So the comic books that Deadpool reads is Batman, Superman, all these things. So he gets a wild hair up his ass and he sneaks into Thanos's lair and he finds the Infinity Gauntlet, but he doesn't like the glove.
Well, hold on. How does he get there?
However, he takes a ship. He hitches a ride with Nova.
Or maybe how about he just jumps over a few panels because Deadpool can.
Yeah. There, yeah, exactly. And so, but he doesn't like the glove, but he whacks off with the glove with the Infinity Gauntlet, right?
I can see
But then
him doing that.
he takes all the stones out and eats them. Then he shits them out and leaves them back for Thanos. But in doing that, he becomes this cosmic being, and now there is a Deadpool in every imprint in comics. DC, Dark Horse, all those things. And only Deadpool has the power to for two things. He can send different characters to different universes, and he decided that he wanted to make his own universe where he would mix them all up.
So would you see this being like a series, or
I would see this as 3 series. I would see this as a Marvel, a DC, and a new imprint that would be Marvel and DC put together.
well, what we're doing is an audio series. Could you see it being like that, or do you require the full visual of Deadpool's fuckery?
Oh no, I think this could be audio. It could be turned into an audio.
Orson Welles was really great at quotable. I can definitely see why they chose him as Unicron, or at least the first one, anyway.
Yeah.
If you see Transformers Prime, they got John Noble for Unicron, which was an interesting choice, by the way. He was Denethor in Lord of the Rings.
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah. I gotta tell you, that series had a lot of great casting. I mean, obviously returning cast members, Peter Cullen and Frank Welker.
Mm-hmm.
But even new additions like Will Friedle, Steve Bloom, Clancy Brown, and John Noble.
Nice.
And even The Rock for a while, but they realized, oh my god, he's really expensive. We can't keep him, so they just killed his character in the first episode.
Nice.
But I think whether you're creating characters or trying to find the best words for them, Shakespeare is definitely the best one. Even Dinobot from Transformers was kind of a Shakespearean character within his own right.
Mm-hmm.
His last few words were, "The rest is silence."
I like that.
Hey, as long as we're speaking about Shakespeare, do you think Lion King or Disney is ever going to admit that Lion King is 2 parts Hamlet and 3 parts Kimba the White Lion?
No, because then it wouldn't be original. And Disney wants, that's one of their original things.
Oh, come on. Disney's never been original. Snow White, Pinocchio, The Little Mermaid, Hercules, Tarzan.
Mm-hmm.
The Great Mouse Detective was actually based off a book series called Basil of Baker Street. Fox and the Hound, also a book. Every movie that they've done is either based off a book or some form of mythology.
That's right. And
Except for, Wreck-It Ralph. That's like the only exception.
man,
Everything else, either a book
you're
of
right.
some
They do.
sort,
Yeah,
or
they do
mythology.
so much. They do so much that is not original. That's crazy to think, man.
Like, if I could... Like, if their TV series are more original than their movies are.
Yeah. That's why they have to buy everything else. That's why they bought Marvel. That's why they bought Star Wars.
Yeah, it's like that. It's like freaking Akira, where it just absorbs stuff into it.
Absolutely.
No more like that South Park episode with the whole Trapper Keeper, if you remember that,
I do not remember that.
where Cartman buys a Trapper Keeper, and he starts absorbing everything, and the only way he dies is because he accidentally absorbs Rosie O'Donnell. Ew.
Whatever happened to Rosie O'Donnell? Man, I mean, not that I care too much to look it up, but
I don't know.
that's funny.
Yeah, that was funny though. Again, another classic. Actually, in my experience with South Park, there have only been 2 episodes I wasn't really fond of. It was the Pee Wee hockey episode, in the Crack Baby episode. But to be fair, the best part of that was when Cartman dresses up as a slave owner and goes to this college and starts asking about the student athletes.
Oh, man.
You could definitely see him as a traditional slave owner.
Yeah.
Okay, how do you get away with not paying your slaves? It's like, get out. This is a prestigious institution.
Nice. I'm so far behind on so many stuff.
But yeah, other than that, I can't say. So the amount of episodes I didn't like versus the ones I did were two very far and in between. I mean, granted, there are some I like better than others. Like the Whale Whores one. That was a classic one. Or Shitty Sushi. For it turns out Mr. Liu Kim was white this whole time with multiple personality disorder. It's funny the depth this show will go to. And as
Or
you
it
mentioned
has.
in your show, by the way, here's a good quote for you all. What makes art art? The fact that it challenges you. If it doesn't challenge you, then it's not art.
There's another quote that I like in my show. Remember, squirrels' cheeks are also their nutsacks.
Okay, yeah, you mentioned that in your show yesterday. I gotta ask. What in the HE double mozzarella sticks? I mean, that's clever and everything, and I find that fucking funny. But how?
It came from I saw a meme with squirrels and it just said nutsacks, and I put the two together and I was like, this is going in the show.
Has it worked out for you so far?
Oh yeah, I say it on every episode. I do put new quotes to live by and stuff like that, but I love to end with that just because if they're your first time listener, you're like, what? What?
Okay. Well, I mean, that definitely grabs your attention, to say the very least.
No, yeah.
But, you know the fun thing about quotes are? They leave for inspiration for other characters. Like, did you know that Shockwave was actually inspired by Spock?
Shockwave the Transformer?
Yeah.
Huh.
Except they just took a more sinister approach to him.
Yeah.
It was a more sinister, logical approach to things, as opposed to the empathetic, logical side of things.
Very cool.
They even show that in the Transformers Prime series, where he was portrayed by David Sobolov. In case that name sounds familiar, you may recognize him as Depth Charge from Beast Wars, Lobo in the Young Justice series,
Nice.
Rhinox in the Rise of Beasts movie, and Kaido from One Piece.
Awesome.
So, whether you're getting inspired, trying to create new characters, quoting characters, or anything in between, I think the safest way to say is a character's actions do make up more than their words, but their words are way more memorable. So, Bradley, thanks for joining us today.
Do or do not. There is no try.
And one more time, where can everybody find you?
You can find me. Just look up the Fandemic. You can look me up on Patreon. Not Patreon. My Facebook is the Fandemic. TikTok at the Fandemic 1, and Instagram at the Fandemic.
Terrific, terrific. And you'll also catch him as our narrator for the Undateable X-Men. Would you like to give a little sample of that?
What would you like me to read? Actually, you know what? I got something I can read. Give me one. Let me pull up.
Read whatever you like, but just use your narrating voice. Let's go with that.
All right. Yep. Let me. Where are you? Give me 1 second.
Do 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 do. Ba-dum-ba-dum. Ah, hey, there you go. Another quote. Sesame Street. Well, it's really more like a jingle.
All right. Here's my review of Dune 2. If you are a fan of sci-fi, or if you are a fan of awesomeness, you really want to see this movie. This movie had something in it for everyone. I don't want to spoil it for you, because I want you to go to this movie. So here are my thoughts. Few sequels are better than the first. This one is one of them. This was shot wonderfully. You can tell they spent every dollar to make you feel like you were on another world. The action was great. My one critique with the first movie was that it was a little slow. I didn't get that from this one. The battle within Paul's self really comes through on the screen. There wasn't one bad performance in this movie. This movie should be the new standard that all movies should try to reach. Make a good movie and people will love it.
Ooh, chills. That's like Keith David or Morgan Freeman good.
Thank you. Thank you.
And if you
I'll
like
be
this
here.
episode, feel free to hit like, subscribe, and follow for more geeky content. And as always, support your host and co-host. But no matter what you decide to do by day's end, remember that very one important thing. Stay geeky.